There is a multi-billion-dollar industry that depends on your lawn dying every single year. Not struggling, dying. Because a dead, weak, chemical-dependent lawn is a lawn that keeps buying. And for almost a century, that industry has spent millions making sure you never hear the word Clover. Stick around, because by the end of this video you'll understand exactly why your grandparents' lawns needed almost nothing, and why yours needs a truck full of chemicals just to survive August. Here's something most people don't know. Until the 1950s, clover was considered a feature of a healthy lawn. Grass seed companies sold clover mixed right in with grass seed on purpose, because clover fixes nitrogen from the air and feeds the soil for free. Then chemical weed killers hit the market. And there was one problem: those new weed killers couldn't tell the difference between clover and dandelions. They killed both. So instead of making a weed killer that spared clover, the industry did something much simpler. They rebranded clover as a weed. Old seed catalogs from the 1940s and 50s actually advertised, "contains white clover," as a selling point. You can still find them archived online. Within about 10 years, that same clover was being marketed as an enemy to kill. Nothing about the plant changed. Only the marketing did. That single marketing decision is why the average American homeowner now spends real money every year on fertilizer, weed killer, and water. For a plant, turf grass, that was never built to survive without constant help. Clover, on the other hand, pulls its own nitrogen from the air. It stays green through droughts that turn grass brown. It chokes out weeds on its own. It needs a fraction of the mowing. It was never the problem. It was the competition. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but my HOA won't allow it. Stay with me, because in a minute I'm going to show you exactly how people are legally getting clover lawns approved, even in strict HOAs, using the HOA's own rulebook against them. Let's talk real numbers. The average U.S. household spends between $300 and $500 a year on lawn fertilizer, weed control, and extra watering. Over 10 years in a home, that's potentially $5,000, spent keeping a plant alive that fights you every step of the way. A clover lawn, once established, needs close to none of that. No synthetic fertilizer. Far less watering. Mowing maybe once a month instead of once a week. Most HOA rules were written decades ago and specifically restrict weeds, and clover, historically, got lumped into that word. But here's the loophole: most modern HOA language defines a violation as unmowed, overgrown, or neglected landscaping, not the specific plant species. A well-maintained, mowed clover lawn technically meets the same definition of maintained turf as grass does. Homeowners across the country have successfully gotten clover approved simply by requesting it in writing, citing water conservation, and pointing to their state's growing number of right to a natural yard ordinances that override outdated HOA restrictions. And this next part is the part almost nobody talks about, the one thing that determines whether your clover lawn thrives or completely fails in year one. Skip this step, and you'll be back to square one by summer. The key is timing your seeding to soil temperature, not the calendar. Clover germinates best when soil hits 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's usually early spring or early fall depending on where you live. Overseed directly into thin, patchy grass rather than starting from bare dirt. And resist the urge to fertilize with synthetic nitrogen in year one. It actually works against clover by feeding the grass and weeds around it instead. The industry spent 70 years convincing you that the plant which basically takes care of itself is the enemy, and the plant that needs constant chemical life support is the standard. Now you know why. If you want the full step-by-step on converting your lawn to clover without killing what's already growing, that video's linked right here. I walk through the entire process. Subscribe if you're done paying for a lawn that fights you back.